So again, guys, my name is Chaz Jackson. I'm just so excited, so inspired just to have you guys' eyes and ears for a few minutes, man. I know you guys are having a lot of fun out there with your friends, you know. I seen some of you guys out there playing dodgeball. I don't know if this group was involved with that, but yeah, again, really enjoy and inspired to talk to kids, teens, man. Whenever I have that opportunity, like, it's just magical to me, man. So again, thank you for giving me your eyes. And quick question: do any of you guys know how many letters are in the alphabet?
26.
Don't be upset. I was like, I had to Google it earlier. I was like, oh, what was it? But it is 26. And out of that 26, I want you guys to capture 4 of them, 4 letters. So obviously you already know them, but at the end of this talk, I want you guys to be able to take something from the speech that I'm planning in your minds and be able to remember the word best. And B.E.S.T, there is some good acronyms and some good quality that I just want to inspire you guys to use as you continue through your journey, okay? So B itself, believe in yourself, all right? Believe in yourself. To be yourself in a world that's constantly trying to change you into something else is one of the greatest accomplishments, in my opinion. You know? We have so many distractions as soon as we come into this world of trying to pull us into that direction to get us away from our uniqueness inside of us. All right? I just want to encourage you guys to understand and to be self-aware of this one thing, that I truly believe that each and every one of us is very rare. We're very rare. Like, you take your fingertips, right? You know, if you get your fingerprints read, out of 7 billion people on this planet, no one has your fingerprint. Our Creator was very specific when He made each and every one of you guys. All right? So we have to get that one thing straight. No matter what the world throws at us, it all starts in here. It all starts with each and every one of you believing in yourselves, right? One of my favorite quotes by Marianne Williamson, is our deepest fears is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fears is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. Our light, not our darkness. So, meaning the light, your unique self, right? The person that you are when, you know, you're just at home and just vibing by yourself. That unique person, that person that at times in our school system, at school, we try to put on a different identity because we're afraid of the person that we truly are at home. If we reveal it, you know, we could be judged by our peers, right? Have you guys ever experienced any of that, or knowing someone that maybe experienced that? Trying to fit in. But again, I go back to how rare we are and how each and every one of us have a purpose on this planet to inspire people and to help others fulfill their dreams, right? So that brings me to E, esteem management, respect management. So when we know the uniqueness that we possess, we have to respect that, right? We have to respect that. When we're self-aware of that uniqueness that we possess, we also will be able to respect our peers more, right? Because we're all made from the same cloth, regardless of skin color, background, culture, right? Even though that does play a picture in what we're striving for and what the world that we're building around us possess, but when it all comes down to it, we all share something unique that we're supposed to provide to this world, right? One of my favorite stories is by Robert Cromwell. Anybody ever heard of Temple University in Philadelphia? No? But this guy, he was very inspired by a group of kids. He was actually a part of the church. He was inspired by a group of kids that didn't have a lot of money, right? And they wanted to go to school so bad. And they wanted resources for that. So he created a speech to help raise money to start school so these kids would have an opportunity to fulfill their dreams. And the story was Acres of Diamonds. I just want to share that story with you to kind of give you another comprehension of how big respect is. But the story was about an African farmer. An African farmer that had land, had acres, but he would always look outside of where he was. Like he would look at his neighbor and see how wealthy his neighbor was, and he would look at the next neighbor and the next person, and he would always be desiring what other people wanted, right? Because he didn't have it where he was. So what he ended up doing was selling his land. He sold his land to someone, and he went out venturing after what his other neighbors had was diamonds. He went out venturing for these diamonds, right? And he did it for days, weeks, years. And this African farmer ended up dying searching for these diamonds, searching for what other people had. But what was so interesting about this story to me was the guy that he sold the land to stumbled over a stone one day. And the stone that he stumbled over turned out to be diamonds. So there was acres of diamonds on the guy's land already, but he already left going out to search for. He just never took the time to look within his own land. So the guy actually bought the land for less than nothing and became a millionaire off of what he already had. So what I want you to take from this, I want you to take from this is the fact that when we begin to respect what we already have and know that searching somewhere else, we will never get the right answers. Everything is here. Everything is already within you, right? Those distractions that I talked about earlier, they can limit us from discovering that. So we have to be very cautious about what we're taking in. All right? That brings me to S, self-discipline. Self-discipline. When we discover that uniqueness, when we discover to respect it, when we respect ourselves, it's also going to radiate and respect other people, which will cut down on bullying, right? Anybody ever seen anybody get bullied in school or been around that stuff, right? Developing the self-discipline to eliminate a lot of that stuff, right? And self-discipline is inspired by your passion, your vision. Anybody play any sports teams out there? Sports? Right? What sport you play, guy? You know, track? 100? 200? Good, man. That's what's up, man. So, for you to be the best at what you're doing, track, you have to be self-disciplined, right? You have to have that vision already in your mind when you compete beforehand, right? You have to prepare by going to practice, by, training efficiently. Also, doing other things to back up those attributes, meaning taking schoolwork to the highest point, right? Doing our best, because it all wraps within your character. Anybody ever heard of Eric Thomas? Awesome motivational speaker. Y'all heard of that guy? It's phenomenal, man. One of my favorite ones. He said that our gifts and talents can take us to a place that our character won't keep us. And I will share a little bit of that on my end about some of my background of how that really inspires me a little later. But I say that now, and self-discipline is because, having the necessary character, knowing that your gifts and talents is in the container of character, right? Knowing that to get the good grades and to be the best that you can be, to be able to cultivate the uniqueness that you have in you, and I truly believe, and look at each and every one of you and know that you do have it, there has to be self-discipline, right? There has to be willpower. And when you discover that willpower grows stronger. It grows stronger. The last letter T, thought management. Thought management. Very, very powerful, man. Our affirmations, what we tell each other, what we tell ourselves, is so important. When you discover your uniqueness, when you discover what makes you happy, what raises your vibration, what raises your energy. It's very important. The stuff that we're listening to, the things that we let influence our life, right? Maya Angelou said, there is no greater agony, meaning pain. There is no greater agony than the bearing of an untold story inside of you. A lot of times we can leave stories inside of us and not share. Our thoughts, a lot of times when tragic things happen to us. I grew up in a world or in a culture where my grandma used to always say, never let your left hand know what your right hand is, or doing, I'm sorry. Meaning, you should never really express yourself. You should never really talk about what's going on inside of you because it's a sign of weakness. I grew up with this thought in my head, and it truly affected me. Not meaning that she didn't love me, but that's just the way that she was brought up. We should never blame our parents for the things they do because that's just what they know. That's all that they know. They did the best they can, right? My parents did the best they could with me. And towards the end, I'm going to share a little bit more about my story. But I really want you guys to grasp thought management as well before I go into that. Your thoughts create your world. You become what you think about. Easier said than done, right? It's tough, right? It's tough to live in a world, like I mentioned before, that's constantly wanting to pull you in their direction, right? Constantly trying to leave you brainwashed. But the idea here is what I want you guys to take from this. If you don't take anything else from me, I want you to take this from me. It's developing self-awareness. Develop the self-awareness that's going to promote you to the fruit of spirit. And when I talk about the fruit of spirit, I mean love and joy and peace and patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control. And I truly believe if you believe in yourself, have esteem management, create self-discipline, and do the proper affirmations in your mind to develop good thought management, you can achieve what you're destined to achieve. That little voice in your head is telling you what you're here for. But we have to get quiet and listen to ourselves. But going back to me a little bit more, I grew up in Forest City, North Carolina. Are any of you guys familiar with Rutherford County? I know high school I went to, East Rutherford High. You have RS Central, Chase High School down there. I know some of you guys do athletics or in high school, so you might get the chance to play some of them in the future. Or if you're not already played them before. But I grew up in a low-income family. Very low income. Again, the way I kind of look at it now, I was somewhat of a mistake that wasn't a mistake. I said it again, I was a mistake that wasn't a mistake. Meaning, when my parents are not together, when my parents hooked up, my dad was separated from his wife, and him and my mom met. I came along, he was trying to get back with his wife, and that's another longer story for another time. But just to kind of give you an idea of how that kind of corresponded. But when I think about a turning point in my life, was when I was around 5, 6 years old. I was severely injured, which, I don't know if you noticed, I have a scar on my forehead here from when I was in a scooter accident. Me being in that accident brought on a lot of bullying in school coming towards me, a lot of being picked on. You know, I can remember times going home, just feeling out of it, man. Not just feeling like, you know, I don't belong. You know, I'm so different. I couldn't even really look in the mirror. I didn't like what I saw. And what that did for me was bring on a lot of low self-esteem. It brought on a lot of anger. It brought on a lot of low confidence for me. And I carried that on, being brought up in a culture where drugs and alcohol played a big part of my life, which I started consuming at a very young age. I found myself in trouble with the law, being behind bars at the age of 14. And this pattern grew and grew all the way into my 20s. But despite all of the tragedy that happened along the way, I could probably tell you guys a million stories, but you'll probably be here forever, and I'm sure you wouldn't like that. So I'm gonna kind of fast forward a little bit. But between all of that, the gifts and talents that God placed on me with having the talent of playing football, I was a good football player. I got the chance to go to the collegiate level. I played at Western Carolina University. You guys know where that school is? Yeah, I got you. Give me 1 second, man. We'll catch that at the end. Save that question for me. I just want to run home with this right quick. But even though I still had those bad habits, when I look back on my journey now, there had to have been someone looking over me, because there's situations where I could have been locked up somewhere or for a long time, or been dead, if it wasn't for the grace of our wonderful counselor, God himself. He hadn't been there. Even though he didn't play a huge role in my life growing up, meaning going to church and stuff, you know. We went on holidays or whatever, but like Easter and Christmas, but it wasn't a significant role. But I fast forward to 2012. I was in a bad car accident. I was drunk driving without a license. I knew at this point I was going to be facing some jail time. I knew at this point I was a repeated offender, meaning I had multiple charges that was going to hurt